So this is from Congressman Russell Fry. Hakeem Jeffries just got wrecked on CNBC. You don't get to shut down the government because you don't like the outcome of an election. That's not leadership. That's a tantrum.
Government open and then going into the normal appropriations.
It's also ideological evil.
The Republicans were put in a position where they were able to pass the big, beautiful bill, or you call it the big, ugly bill. To then say, we don't like any of that, so we're going to shut down the government until you take back all the things that you duly passed through legislation.
Oh my God, dude, that's so hilarious how he worded it that way. So you didn't like with what they passed in the bill, so you're just going to demand the government shut down, basically throw a big temper tantrum. Could you imagine if that's what the other party did every single time that they passed a bill and it didn't have each and every single motherfucking thing that you want in that bill? If there's only one thing in there that you don't like, you're just going to throw a big temper tantrum, shut down the damn government, and insist you get what you insist you get your way regardless. I mean, imagine that. Like, imagine the gridlock. Imagine, like, the lack of anything that would ever get done in Congress if they were to do that. It is absolutely ridiculous, man. And he makes a really good point by pointing that out, that is precisely what they did. And look, you don't always get what you want. That's why there's compromise. That's why, we've got different political parties. Sometimes you get what you want, other times you don't get what you want. You don't just cross your arms and shut down the whole damn government just because you didn't get your way last time.
Republicans had tried to do that to the Inflation Reduction Act or the any of the acts that
Republicans didn't do that.
And that administration have passed. If they said, we're going to shut down the government because we don't like any of those things you did, we're going to not pay our military, we're going to, not allow the government to reopen until you do what we want.
Oh my God, dude. Even the mainstream media, even the left-wing mainstream media is turning on the Democrats at this point. Even they're getting pissed off because CNBC's, like, he ain't the first person to use this type of language against the Democrats when they've got them up there. They did the same with Chuck Schumer, same with Bernie Sanders, and then a couple others. I think AOC was interviewed on, I think it was on CNN. I've been showing these videos for the last few days if you want to go back and look, especially Wednesday through Friday on my Swamp episodes, where they're on mainstream news and they're being heavily ridiculed by the mainstream media with regard to shutting down the government because it is a ridiculous-ass thing to shut the government down over because they want the ACA tax credits extended, which came out during COVID to try to keep costs for insurance down because a lot of people were furloughed. There was a lot of shit going on during the COVID era. And now that COVID's over, it's being allowed to expire because COVID is over. And that is why the Democrats shut down the government. And then plus there's the actual real reason because they want to give healthcare to illegal immigrants because they want to virtue signal and posture and please their far left radical base.
An election where the American people put Democrats in power, you'd be going crazy. You'd be going crazy about using a shutdown of the government with a continuing resolution to get what you want just because you don't like what the Republicans did. It's not how it works. It's bad. It's bad precedent, and it's just
very
clear.
bad.
And you're talking about the House. You've already passed this. The
Senate
they already did. Is who we're talking about, and they have a bill which will reopen the government right now with 5 more Democrats.
What is bad precedent is the Republican refusal to engage in bipartisan negotiations. What is bad precedent is the Republicans.
Dude, that's what the end of November is for. This bill was only supposed to be like a 6-week or 8-week bill just to carry the government just a couple of months until the next fiscal year bill, spending bill or whatever. That's how I understand it. Apparently, like the big bill that they're supposed to be voting on for the next fiscal year is coming up on like November 30th. And that this bill was basically just a temporary Band-Aid kind of funding bill that they were just passing. Republicans didn't add anything to the bill. Apparently, it's has the exact same language in the bill over the last 5 years, this CR bill. And that's why they say that we voted on the same CR bill 12 times, 13 different times. All through the Biden administration, we voted on the exact same bill time after time because they didn't change any language in it. The Republicans didn't change anything in it. It's the Democrats who want to throw in $1.5 trillion worth of spending so they can start dumping money back into public broadcasting and back into those USAID programs that they shut down and doing all that woke bullshit around the world, throwing $15 million at transgender this and $25 million at a gay Sesame Street in Iraq or whatever the fuck that was. That's what they want. And that's why they're shutting down the government because they're not getting what they want.
embarking on a my way or the highway approach.
That's what
from
you're doing.
From the very beginning of this Congress. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Joe, you're exactly right.
I am so sick of that bullshit talking point, dude. That is such fucking ridiculous, low IQ, brain dead fucking framing that they keep saying that. They're saying that all over X, all over social media, and they're saying it all over the mainstream news that, well, the Republicans, they control the House, they control the Senate, they have the Oval Office right now, and they even have the Supreme Court, if you want to go that far. So the Republicans are in control of everything. So it's them who shut down the government. No, it's not, dude. They need 5 votes from the Senate in order to pass a spending bill, because 60 senator votes are needed in order to pass any spending bill in the government. They need 60 votes, and Republicans don't have 60 senators in the Senate. So they need 5 Democrats to vote yes on this bill. And if they don't, then it's the Democrats who shut down the government, bozo, which he knows. Everybody knows it. But unfortunately, Democrats have a lot of naive voters, a lot of people who either they just outright don't pay attention, or they're just extremely gullible and they just literally believe everything that's told to them. And that's what this asshole is counting on. For somebody who's out there who votes blue no matter who, to hear what he's saying. Yeah, the Republicans do control everything. So yeah, they did shut down the government.
So if the government shuts down, they've made the decision to shut the government down. And they can reopen it right now.
Oh, but they didn't. Dude, you better correct this asshole.
With a rule change in the Senate. But I just explained it.
No, you did.
The reality is they want to keep the government closed. Cruelty from the very beginning.
I bet if they showed this anchor, he's probably shaking his head. He's like, dude, this is not how you save your party. This is not how you fix things. This is only going to make it worse, man, because you are outright lying to your constituents. It is a bold-faced lie. Just because Republicans have the control in the House makes no fucking difference where we're at. This has nothing to do with the House of Representatives at this point. It's all in the Senate. It has nothing to do with Trump either. Nothing at all. It's locked up in the Senate because 5 Democrat senators refused to vote yes on the spending bill. Ergo, the government shuts down. It is really that simple.
This administration has been the point. And the responsible thing to do is to sit down and negotiate a bipartisan path forward to address a very real healthcare crisis that's upon us right now. Open enrollment.
You already did that over the summer, dude. You already did it, and it was passed on July 4th. It was the big, beautiful bill. That was all negotiated over the summertime. And in part of those negotiations, the ACA tax credits were going to be allowed to expire. That was all in the negotiations over the spring and into the early summer. They've already been over all that shit, dude. And it ended up getting cut as the bill said it was going to, because it got passed by the House, the Senate, and it was signed into law. And now they're just trying to go back on what the negotiations was. And they're like, well, I know we didn't get what we wanted them, but we still want it anyway. And we're just going to, lock everything down until we finally get what we want. And that's not how you go about doing shit.
Can you do that? Can you do those negotiations while the government is reopened? I think that's the offer that's been on the table.
Yeah, because there's another vote on spending coming up at the end of November, as far as I understand.
I did hear the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, talking about how, look, he passed a clean CR. There's not really much for him to politic in because there's nothing to take out.
There's nothing there, dude. Republicans didn't put anything in there. They didn't do anything. It's just a copy paste bill. They've been passing the same identical exact same bill for years. There's nothing that the Republicans added. There's like Mike Johnson said on day one. He said, "We're flabbergasted. We have nothing that we can negotiate with. There's nothing we put in. There's nothing we want. The only thing we want is what we've been voting on for the last 5 years, this clean CR bill." So when Democrats are using this language about how, well, they need to come to the negotiating table and they need to make a deal, it's basically saying that, well, if we're not going to get every single thing we want, we, the Democrats, well, then we're going to get at least some of the things that we want, even though this was already negotiated back in the springtime. It was already negotiated. All this shit was.
Republican pork that they pushed into this to take out of it to offer as a way of getting around this. Can you reopen the government and have these conversations if there's a willing party on the other side, which it sounds like there is if you talk to some of the Republicans who see this as an issue in their district as well.
Well, look, and Republicans have been saying that there's this big No Kings protest that's happening in Washington. I believe it's on the 18th. I might be off by a couple of days, but it's coming up next week. And it's some big protest in Washington, D.C., big anti-Trump, anti-Republican protest. And they're going to go down there and march and raise hell. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that's going to turn out, because you know how the left gets whenever they organize by the masses. Usually shit gets really fucking rowdy, really fucking violent. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But according to the Republicans, they believe that Democrats are keeping the government shut down until after that protest. And once the protest is over, then they're going to go ahead and reopen the government, and they'll sign on, because they just want to they want to posture and please the far left radical base, which these far left radicals are the ones who are organizing this big No Kings protest. Those aren't the No Kings protest isn't just your everyday classical liberal card carrying Democrats. It's the far leftists. It's the socialists and the communist faction of the Democratic Party, which unfortunately is getting just bigger and bigger in the Democrat Party. They're the ones that really seem to control it anyway. So it's basically just a communist party at this point.
Well, certainly Marjorie Taylor Greene has made clear that it's a very real issue. It's an issue that Republicans have ignored throughout this year, and it's an issue that needs to be addressed right now. Mike Johnson has made the representation, including at that White House meeting that we had last week, after Chuck Schumer and I reached out to demand that we have the conversation. Unfortunately, it took place literally a day before the government shut down, because Republicans have refused to engage in bipartisan negotiations.
No, the problem that they have right now, Democrats, is that the Affordable Care Act is just another way of saying Obamacare. It's the exact same thing. Democrats put their name all over it. Obama put his name all over it, and it was a disaster almost from the day that it was passed. They said you get to keep your doctor. Turned out that was a complete lie. It's going to be way more affordable than private health care. That turned out to be a big lie. It might be affordable to people who are on government assistance, people who are consuming resources from the government. It might be helpful for them, but for everybody else, extremely expensive. The only time that I applied for Obamacare, and I didn't apply for it because I needed it. I was just curious because they sent me an email like 7-8 years ago, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to apply for it and just see what rate it's going to give me. So I applied for it using the same type of insurance that I had like back in the 2000s, where it was $250 for an inpatient visit, $100 for an emergency room visit, $50 for media care, $35 for a specialist, $20 for PCP. That's it. No deductibles or anything like that, or just the copays. And they quoted me, and this was like 2015-ish, for Obamacare on that tier, which of course is the platinum tier. It was like $1,400 a month. And I was only in my mid-30s with no pre-existing conditions at the time. And they were going to charge me that much. And that was like 10 years ago, really. It was somewhere like 8, maybe 10 years ago. It was a long time ago when I applied for it. So I can only imagine how much it costs today. And it's only been getting more and more expensive, because the only solution Democrats have is just throw more money at it. Just raise taxes, throw more money at it. That's going to fix the problem. So now it's gotten to the point where it is unbelievably unaffordable, because it's only been getting higher and higher and higher year after year. They didn't fix it during the Biden administration. They didn't fix it then. They didn't fix it during the tail end of the Obama administration. They didn't. It just kept getting worse and worse. So the Democrats have to eat this across the board, but they're just trying to push all of the excuses and try to push all the blame over onto the Republicans, because, well, they're not going to extend the ACA tax credits, which are COVID tax credits, and they're saying that it's the Republicans' fault that insurance is going to double. No, it's been the Democrats' fault the entire time. And I kind of wish that Republicans would use that language a little more often to remind the American people what the Affordable Care Act is, who started it, when it started, and why it keeps getting more expensive. Instead, they just say, no, it's the Democrats who are shutting down the government. We need 5 votes from the Democrats, and they're not willing to vote yes on the bill, so it's closed, which is true. And there could very well be some Republicans out there that are saying exactly what I want them to be saying. There's a lot of politicians out there, and I can't follow every single one of them. But anyway, so yeah, that happened. Pretty satisfying to hear that from CNBC, that they're actually pushing back against them, because it is ridiculous. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you take a quick second to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And check out The Swamp, which drops Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern, covering the daily happenings inside the federal machine. Thank you very much for watching.